starting point for this session, while people start entering the meeting, we're going to look at the news, but in relation to a session that is about imagination. So our news of today is looking also into the future. And I don't know if any of you know Ray Kurzweil, then I strongly encourage you to start reading his books. And you can start with the 2000 or the 99 one, The Age of Spiritual Machines, and that was ahead of the AI age. He was already writing about it. And actually in his book, in his two books from 2005 and 1999, he did a couple of predictions of where our world would be heading based on Moore's law. And as you know, Moore's law is about the doubling of the computing power every 2 years, and also the reduction of costs and the decrease of the size of processors. So based on that notion, he did a couple of predictions, or quite a large number of predictions, that all came, most of them came to be true, about 90%. So he predicted autonomous driving cars, he predicted the way AI would be developing already 10 to 15 years ago. And now he published a new book. And in this book, he's talking about singularity and how near that is. And for the ones who don't know what singularity is the point where computers get smarter than people. And the way you can test that is with the Turing test. And Alan Turing was a famous British scientist who developed the Enigma computer in 1944. That broke the German interaction or the German coding, so they could intercept the German messages, and that shortened the Second World War significantly. That actually was the first AI or machine learning instrument, that Enigma computer. And the Turing test is, if you talk to a person or a computer without being able to see it or to hear it, but just typing it, and you can't make up on the answers if it's a machine or a human, and you have a personal conversation with it, then we're at the point that a machine passes the Turing test. And Ray Kurzweil elaborates on that further in this book, and then you get to the point of singularity, because if a computer wants to pass the Turing test, it in fact has to be more intelligent than a human being, because he must even take care of the fact that you don't notice that he's a very smart machine. In the book, he states how in 2040 we will reach that point in time. And that's very near to where we are now. So within the next couple of 16 years, we will witness that machines will get as intelligent and as empathic as we are. Well, today's session is much about that. It's about imagining the future. So I encourage you to read this book, because it gives you an idea of an exotic thought that we upload our brain to the cloud. Is not as exotic if you look at it from a historical perspective. A absolute must read and a nice introduction to this to the session of today. We've got a very interesting agenda today. We've got a interesting lineup of speakers. First, Gerard will do a short introduction and a welcome from Intershop. Then I will talk about, well, the background of this Imagine session as part of the sequel of 5 sessions we have on the roadmap to advanced B2B commerce. Eric, and I'm very pleased to have Eric in this session, will have a practical use case about how Bundle is developing its strategy and user experimentation on that. We've got Musgraves, who will also, in a practical use case, show how they accelerate their strategy using AI. We've got Peter from Spark, who will present their view of the data awareness and acceleration of data knowledge and how Spark AI can help with that. And Gerrit will elaborate on the AI-enabled infrastructure that Intershop is working on and their vision on the future. We'll wrap up with a panel discussion where all speakers will participate, and also Niels Kijkaert will join us. And well, last but not least, we will wrap up and look forward to the next session. Gerrit, you've got the honor to do the welcome and introduce what we're going to do today.
Perfect. Thanks very much, Arjen, and also thanks for the interesting introduction. You already look a little bit like in Germany. You started much earlier than the webinar started, but I think for many of us, we already could follow. Yeah, so welcome to this 9th session of the B2B Frontrunners. It's great to have you all here. Today we have over 80 people registering for this session. And I'm happy to announce that we have already more than 150 members in our B2B Frontrunners community. And today we want to focus indeed on how we can scale B2B commerce faster. And doing that by AI, of course, because at Intershop, we have this vision that in the future, e-commerce becomes what we call autonomous, and that when you purchase something online, that you're really helped with self-service, and that the system can predict you in your context what you need, or even already serve machines that can even order products already. And for that, you need to be enabled by AI. So also that's our mission, to become the #1 B2B commerce platform powered by AI, and really to help you in this journey. So for the session today, it's basically in the second session in a range of 5 sessions that are related. We are looking at the B2B commerce roadmap based on the intelligent customer interaction method. Arjen will talk a little bit more about that. So in the previous session, we covered already the analyze phase, and today we want to talk about the imagine phase. Now there's a lot of background noise from someone. Arjen, train was driving by. So today we are looking at the imagine phase, where you define your ambitions and to create this intelligent customer experience. Intelligent customer experience means more personalized and frictionless, omnichannel and digital, and of course, at the end, happy customers with an improved Net Promoter Score. Here also a short overview of the sessions that we can still expect after this one. So in November, we looked at the design phase, and in December to the measure phase, and in January to the manage phase. And every session we will end with an action paper. In this action paper, we try to give concrete help in your journey to become more advanced in your B2B. So Arjen, thanks very much, and you can take over to introduce the first phase in the imagine phase. Now you're on mute, Arjen.
Yeah, that was the background noise on my part. That was the effect of a large airplane. Today we're going to look at the imagine step of the process. But first, let me introduce myself. You know me. I've already hosted these 9 sessions, and in the earlier sessions, I already presented some of the models we use here, and I also help companies with developing advanced B2B and B2C strategies. The last session we did was about analysis, and that is part of this 5-step roadmap towards advanced B2B commerce. And analysis was about, well, exploring your potential. You will receive this one as combined with the imagine phase as the first 2 action papers after in the week after this session. But what we covered in that analysis stage was that actually we're heading towards a world of well, hyper-personalization, the individual age, and that's based on all the technology developments we see. So the traditional idea about customer journeys does not longer work. You do not have only 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5, or maybe 20 customer journeys. You have as many customer journeys as you have customers. And those journeys will be personalized on a very individual customer level. And in that analysis phase, we looked at, well, you have to analyze your own data, but also look at what is happening in the market, what is happening at the consumer side, what is happening in your business, and use all those elements to define the improvement areas that you can discover. Not only improving your financial performance, but also how can you compete with your competitors in terms of customer engagement. That what you have to translate in a holistic customer-centric project where you collaboratively work with people in your organizations to develop customer-centric projects. You have to prioritize them in a rational way with measurable criteria, and especially in the field of AI, and that was nicely illustrated by the use cases we had. You have to define AI projects that show that AI is not something exotic, but that you can use them to create and show quick wins in terms of revenue, but also in terms of customer engagement. We had Raja, who was illustrating that with how they use ChatGPT for creating much more content and do large-scale translations. And we had Röhm showing how they used AI to improve recommendations and improve search on their site. That's analysis. That's what we did last time. Today we're going to look at the imagine stage. It's about defining your ambitions. It's about looking further ahead to give guidance to all these developments. And we're going to cover 5 topics. We're going to look at envision your North Star, outline your strategic roadmap, about the use of different kinds of KPIs, merging innovation and improvement, and cultivate a customer-centric culture. And with all that, we're going to elaborate also on how you can use AI as a partner to accelerate these developments. So this is not about those exotic, faraway visions about AI. It is about applying it in practice, and we're going to illustrate that with the use cases as well. So talking about this North Star, a 5 to 10 year vision. Not a very concrete description of what you want to reach in those 5 to 10 years, but what is the point on the horizon where you're heading for in this time of ultimate uncertainty and fast developments where we're in now. You can use all the analysis insights from the past session to define what you think are the main threats and the huge opportunities that arise. So in a world where suddenly we're now able to talk any language, because I don't know which one of you uses ChatGPT, but I can communicate in 45 languages fluently. You can analyze data in amounts and discover connections as never before. So we're living in a time where if you think about what AI is going to enable your existing business, but also is going to change your existing business in terms of opportunities, but also in terms of threats, because if you don't move and the rest does, what does that make of you, and what does that leave of your business? If you look at where you will be in 5 to 10 years, you can describe the future. The future, what you think, what your business will look like, and what your role in that playing field is. So not a concrete action plan, but a vision on what you think, where your world and your business is heading to. And then you can also define what are the objectives you have in that faraway future in terms of what your business model is and what the engagement with customers is, what sets you apart from the rest, and why customers in that much more competitive environment and that much more internationalized environment, how are you going to remain competitive? And in all that analysis, you can use AI as your rationalization partner. If you've defined that North Star, then you can also take a much better look at what are the steps you're going to have to take the next couple of years to move towards that direction and to start realizing your dream or that long-term vision. And you can do that also in a very simple way. With all the people in your organization or the main stakeholders, and thinking from the customer perspective, you can write down in 150 words what, why, and how, each in 155 words. So no large document, but define what you want to achieve in 150 words and explain why you want to achieve that, and describe how you're going to achieve that and what milestones should be reached when. The interesting part is that you can use AI as your strategic partner. You have noticed that in ChatGPT, but also in Microsoft Copilot and also in Google and Adobe tooling, you can start talking to your AI and it can reflect on what you're saying. So here you can use AI as your strategic sparring partner. If you have defined your future and it is about ultimate personalization, then generic data analysis is not the only thing that works. You have to be able to register the impact of all that personalization on an individual customer level. And at the same time, you have to have that same values in a dashboard where they accumulated into a overlying and overall view. So if you look at this customer scorecard, it contains the same values on an individual customer level as on a high over customer level, with a differentiation in lifetime values. Different parameters than you currently probably use. Who has got a clear definition on personal data completeness? Because if you want to personalize, you need data completeness. You need high quality of data. So that needs to be a KPI that you manage. The lifetime value that comes from all that personalized interactions. And on the shorter term, what is actually the interaction frequency or the interaction efficiency you have with your customers. And to what revenue that currently leads, and how does that relate to the lifetime value of that customer. So you have to define different kind of KPIs, a different view on KPIs. NPS is very interesting, but it doesn't tell you anything about an individual customer because you don't measure it structurally on individual customer level. You also want those KPIs on that individual customer level to be able to be used for that personalization, to be part of that the algorithm that determine what kind of content you show for what reason to which customers. If you start thinking about KPIs in that sense, and they help by monitoring all the impact of all the different personalization aspects have. Because if you start changing or start offering customers an experience with all kinds of different elements that you can change and can target on an individual customer, how are you going to determine which one of these changes actually affected the behavior? So instead of doing only A/B testing, you have to have other criteria and other measurement points to make that available. But that's not all. The biggest change in this is that it also needs to be part of the governance structure of an organization. As soon as you start putting these new values and these new KPIs into the reward system for your people, into the performance criteria for your people, then it becomes a serious part. I've been at many companies where that wasn't the case, and then there's no natural driver for the organization to act upon it. So this is really an organizational change that you also embed that in the governance and reward structure. AI can work as the one that helps you measure all these values and see connections that you actually do not see on traditional measurement ways. So if you have done that, you have this vision and you have this roadmap and you have the measurement criteria in place, then you can actually take advantage of that. What is the biggest contribution of AI and all this technological advancement, and that is the acceleration power that it creates. Traditionally, we think in innovation and improvement as two separate processes, where improvements are, efficiency and cost efficiency kind of improvements, and strategic innovations are those far away things. If you look at a company like OpenAI and look at their innovation and improvement roadmap, those two are the same. So what we're heading for is a world where innovation and improvement merge, and that is not very exotic. You have to make your innovation roadmap leading, and if you have defined your North Star and if you have defined a roadmap, then you can distribute all those innovation projects on a timeline and use the practical improvements to support the effectiveness and to enhance the speed of development. If you then use those practical improvements as part of that process, they help you discover if your strategic vision is actually right, or they help you validate your strategic process. Because on an operational level, and Peter will explain that more about also what one of the big advantages of using a Spark and Spark AI-like tools is that they teach you a continuous improvement model. You don't have to start with the perfect process. You can improve your process along the way and constantly improve the effectiveness of what you're doing. And that learning by doing, and that's what you see at the launches of Microsoft and the launches of OpenAI in their product. Those products are not ready when they launch them. They improve them along the way. And that speeds up the level of innovation big time. It also accelerates the working together you have to do with all these departments to make these more complex actions work. And in that process, you can use AI as a tool to help you assess what you're doing, help you improve the quality of what you're doing, do instant analysis of the effectiveness, or use digital twins to work out which version of a solution works best. And what you then end up is that strategic innovation and practical improvement come together in a different way of working. This way of working we're going to discuss in the next session in more detail, but there's one important point which you also have to create in this imagine phase, and that is how you are going to treat data to activate a customer-centric culture and to be responsible in what you do in the field of personalization. And that's not common in all industries. You have to formulate a responsible data use philosophy. As a precondition to be able to work with all the customer data, you have to follow the ruling that is laid upon us in Europe. The AI Act determined that you have to be careful with what you do with customer data, that you have to be able to reproduce what your AI has been doing if people start asking how you did it. It's a legal obligation, but also from your internal perspective, you don't want to want anybody to use all the data. So you have to have a vision on how your personalization works, and you have to define data access and data use principles within your organization. As soon as we start doing hyper-personalization, a responsible way of working with data is a prerequisite for doing that. But it's also got a direct other benefit or direct other logic, is that it helps you outline how the data work process works, and also what are the data architecture and infrastructure requirements that are needed in order to make this work. And that comes to the very foundation, what we're going to discuss also today. It's very interesting on getting to this advanced hyper-personalized reality, but your infrastructure and your way of working need to be adjusted to that in order to make that successful. And you can use AI here to manage that legal and compliance part, and to check if everything you develop matches the EU regulations in regard to AI. So here AI is not an exotic faraway vision. It's a very practical application that you can use to accelerate your performance. I'm very pleased that that we have a nice lineup of guests that can, from a practical perspective, shed a light on digital transformation. In the first speaker we are going to invite is Erik Röhm, who is the Digital Transformation Director at Bunzl. He's going to talk about how they develop a strategy that must work for all the various brands they have. And I want to ask you, because there's many of you in this session, we can't have an open discussion with all of you. Whatever question you have, please drop that in the chat. And during the presentation, or at the end of the presentation with Erik, we also have a small poll question that will be dropped and that we will use in a short discussion after the presentation of Eric. So without further ado, Eric, I would hand over the presentation to you. You can take control and start sharing your story.
Thank you very much, Arjan. I'll take over control now. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Erik Röhm, Digital Transformation Director at Bunzl. Probably a company name that you don't know. We are very big in our markets, but we operate under many different brand names, so that's also why you don't know. Arjan and Harold asked me to tell you about transformation or strategy, digital strategy, how we use experimentation in it, and also what the role of AI is. Now, that's a presentation of something like 1 or 2 hours, but I only get 10 minutes. So let me keep it very briefly here. When we talk about digital transformation and digital strategy, that's not something that we do top-down. What we try to do top-down is give guidance, give a direction, but you have to know that we are active in 17 countries in continental Europe, in 6 different segments, and every market is different for us. So we have chosen deliberately for a very decentral approach. That means that we've got a lot of entrepreneurship and a lot of freedom in our opcos. So if we give them too many rules, nothing will happen. So they got a lot of freedom to do what they want. That also drives experimentation. So they are experimenting. They're often reacting very rapidly on trends in the market. What we then do is help them with those experiments. And if it works, then we communicate it to all the other ones, and we have formed a community, a very active community, and we like to copy paste from each other. So that's our way to use experimentation all the time to then drive our overall strategy, let's say. How does our digital strategy look like? I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but digital strategy for us is for growth. So how do we serve our customers better? How do we give new value to the customers? And on the other hand, also, how can we be better in serving our customer? And that can be about operations, that can be about many more things, but those are 2 different elements. But what is unique or what is the same in both is data. It's all data driven. Without data, you don't know where to take what decisions. And then there's technology underneath, but I will not go there. So as I said, we do it very decentrally. However, what we also have seen overall, there's a big difference. In whatever segment we are, there's a big difference in behavior between our bigger customers and what we call the prosumers. So prosumer is still a B2B customer, but they don't have an organization behind them. For instance, we are in healthcare. On the left side, you could see a hospital. On the right side, you could see a dentist. On the left side, you could see a Hilton hotel chain. On the right side, it could be an Airbnb. So in the prosumers, there's a lot of impulse behavior. People need their products. They don't remember where they bought it the last time. They don't have purchase processes. They don't have an ERP system, etc. They just want to find it, orientate, be sure that it's a good product at a good price, order, done. And next time, hopefully they will come back, or they just orientate again and hopefully can win them back. That's a different behavior than the bigger B2B customers, because there the processes are more important. Also, what they want to achieve is much more important. Products are just part of what they are doing, about the service you need to create for them. For instance, a hospital, they don't really care what toilet paper they are using, but if there's no toilet paper in a hospital, you've got a big problem. So it's more about, let's say, mitigation of risks, continuity, and having them focus on what they need to achieve to their core activities. So we see totally different behavior, and because of that, we also divide it. We divide our multi-channel companies, our traditional companies, and the online companies, so that we can focus. What does that mean? For instance, of course, we kind of try to bring it closer together. We're learning from one, bring it to the other one, etc. So that's a big added value for us. But if you look, for instance, on the front side, you will see that how we experiment, what we build, what our strategy is, but also how we apply AI as being different. If we talk about our BC online companies, and that can be big ones, we've got companies doing more than 100 million euros to small customers. That means no boots on the ground, no salespeople on the market. The customer finds us online and they do their service also online. Strong analytics is very important there. So data drives everything. You want to communicate with your customer, you want to understand your customer, but you don't know your customer personally. So the only way to communicate with them is to listen to them through their behavior. If they don't like you, they click something else. So you need to understand the data and then use that to personalize, to adapt your process or your assortment or how you interact better to that typical customer. So that's where we are focusing the most when we talk about algorithms for online companies. Of course, also pricing. How do you optimize your pricing? How do you determine the willingness to price? How do you bid on margin contribution and not on sales contribution? These kind of things. What we also see happening, if you understand your customer better, if you know why they come to you, if you then have data, what they can't find in your web shop, that they can find something else, and you try to get it also in your offering, then you see web shops turning into marketplaces. Not a marketplace like an Amazon, but niche marketplaces. And that's something that we are betting on heavily. And we are turning certain of our web shops into, let's say, European-driven marketplaces. And there's a lot of technology behind that. Of course, and you then also need to write content for that. You need to automate that. Also, there is a lot of algorithms being used. And what we see now more and more is the communication with your customer. For instance, we've got web shops, Quiralto, for instance, in Spain. We sell a lot of medical equipment, and it can be a wheelchair. But then the customer receives the wheelchair, does not know how to unfold it. They've got a question. They need to be able to ask that in an easy way. These kind of questions you want to tackle also with a chatbot, with persons, but also with a chatbot. So we are investing heavily in these kind of discussions with our customer. We are at a level that we could pass Turing, although legislation will not allow us anymore because the customer needs to know that they're talking to a chatbot, to a robot, and not to a person. But we are evolving there rapidly. And we are also experimenting with, do you really need a web shop to order something? If you have like a shawarma restaurant or a pizza restaurant, etc., they don't have a laptop there. They don't want to order in a web shop. For them, that's a friction point. They want to call. They want to send a WhatsApp message for the things that they need, whether they need pizza boxes or whatever. So there we're experimenting that they could use like an intelligent chatbot, but just talk to a web shop, and the web shop will act like a person on the other side taking their order. So these are the kind of things that you need to think about on that side. If we then look at the multi-channel business, so more, let's say, the traditional B2B, where the processes are very important, content is super important there, not only about the products, but also about everything you do. We believe that a web shop there needs to evolve to a portal. Every offline touch point deserves to have a digital twin. If people need to call you to find out about an alternative product or about legislation or availability or whatever, you need to offer something else there. So that's mainly what's driving us there to increase the service. And of course, we will use a lot of algorithms for that as well. And we will build services on top of it. And I'll show you one example in 1 minute in my last slide to show you where we're evolving there. One thing also, do customers really need a web shop? If you can predict what a customer needs and you can propose it, and they don't need to buy it anymore. So that's one of the North Stars that we have. We're not there yet. We can reduce the usage of web shops by predicting what people will need. But that's something that we will be experimenting with together with the customer. To give you some examples in that side, in the, let's say, traditional B2B side, what kind of things are we then working on from AI? Content generation, as I already said, but then fully automated. Prediction, like churn prediction, but also prediction like white spot. What might the customer be buying somewhere else that they could also buy from us? Who are the customers or the prospects still out there that are similar to our existing customers, and with what message should we approach them? Chatbots, of course, sales agent co-pilot. When a sales agent reaches out to a customer, what should they be talking about? What products are obsolete? What legislation is changing? What services are changing, etc. Material footprint. Sustainability is huge. The impact is huge in our market. So carbon footprint, material footprint, how can you simulate that? How can you then make predictions? How can you help them to reduce it, etc. So a lot of things also going on there in AI. One last example to give you a feeling where we think, and this is just one North Star, this is for nursing homes. If you look at the nursing home, for instance, nursing home for elderly people, that's a growing market. What they are afraid of, one is medical, like they don't want any infections or whatever. Second one, they don't find the labor anymore. Qualified people that can take care of the patients or, let's say, the residents. Now legislation is getting heavier and heavier. So every product, like an incontinence diaper that they need to give to one of their residents, they need to register that. They need to make month reports, send that to them, then to the insurance companies. Otherwise, they will not get the money, the insurance money. That's a big burden for a nursing home. So they don't know how to deal with it. And that's something where we then try to play a role in it. So we then develop something that when from a nurse stock, they give something to a resident, to a room, they can easily scan it. So we keep in the background that list. We give it once a month to them so they can send it to the insurance company. Afterwards, we can send it. But by registering that, we know exactly what goes out of the nursing home. So they don't need to reorder because we know what needs to be reordered. And on top of that, because we can supply directly to the nursing home, we don't have to supply to a central stock anymore. They can skip the central stock, reduce working capital, and we then take over as a full service partner for a nursing home. And this is the idea how we form our North Stars. And this is just one example. And then, of course, when we've got all the data, then we'll start to predict what's going to be the influence from seasonality, or when there is an infection, what impact will it have on the supply chain, etc., etc. I see I used 12 minutes instead of 10. My apologies, but this was, what I wanted to tell.
You're mute, Arjen.
Thank you very much, Eric. And it is a great story. And you're going to the 2 minutes. It is actually quite a prestation to do that into these 10 minutes. Then, if we look at the poll, and you can also see him in the chat, Eric. How do you look at the importance of experimentation in the process you're going through? The general opinion is that it is very important. How do you look at it? Do you agree with that?
I fully agree with it. Without experimenting, we think that we know, but probably we don't know. To give you an example, you know that in the past I was running a full online company, a fast-growing online company. We did A/B testing all the time. And then when we did a major A/B test, we would then internally do a vote. trying to predict what a customer would like. Would they like scenario A or B? 90% of the cases, we were wrong. We think we know what the customer wants, but it's so difficult for us to put ourselves in the shoes of the customer. Another example, what I just explained to you about the wheat care project that's in Switzerland, we can say, okay, now we bring it to Germany. Doesn't work, because the Germans, the legislation is a little bit different, but also how they manage their processes, the value they want to play in their nursing home is different. It's so dangerous. So everything you want to do, experimenting maybe is not the word, but validating all the time. So don't make something big and bring it out to the market. Make it small, do some design thinking, get your customer in. If your customer says, I like it, then you can go to the next step. You don't build anything yet. You make a very small prototype. They work with it. If they like it, then you can go the next step. And that's already the moment when your customer then says, if you develop it, I will be your first buying customer. Only then you will start to invest. So without experimenting, you are running blind and you are just following your own paradigmas. You're just building what you think that the customer would need, and probably you are wrong. Yeah. Does it make sense?
It makes perfect sense, Eric. In relation to those predictions, there's an interesting series on television. It's also online available. It's called The Capture, where actually the prediction of human behavior is playing a central role, and how data is being used to do those predictions. And it also is about the negative aspects, but also about the positive aspect. I think what you're saying about those starting small and build that experience and do experiments is very important. And that's also something, and once again, thank you very much, Eric, for your contribution. I'll see you in the discussion at the end of the back in the end of the discussion at the end of the session. We'll now have Niall Mullally from Musgrave. I'm very pleased that he's joining. You can read what Musgrave is doing as a business, and Niall is going to talk about how they use experiments and AI to accelerate a strategy that was already established a while ago, and how they now use technology to speed it up. So Niall, feel free to take over the presentation and take control.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. So yeah, I'm going to take you through a couple of examples of experiments from our perspective. So just to give you a bit of a background on Musgrave, I understand it'd be a brand you would not be aware of for the most part. We are food and beverage business, but mainly a grocery wholesaler, and this is just an example of some of our brands. So we would have brands like SuperValu, one of the largest kind of retail operations in Ireland. Centra would be the largest convenience retailer. Lots of other brands in that space. I'm focused on the wholesale food service and some of the retail business, and that's the example I'm going to take you through. Some of the other brands here. So we're going to talk about Musgrave Marketplace today. That is our wholesale brand. I'm going to talk about digital for Marketplace and the experiments that we're doing there to kind of, as Aaron said, deliver some of the strategies that we've set out previously and how we're using AI to start to move that along now. We have a couple of other brands in the food service space. So Larousse in the fine foods in Ireland, and then Ritter and Town and Country are both based in the UK. So similar to what Eric was saying there, we are doing things on certain brands and experimenting with them and then hoping to roll them out and share them and copy and paste them to where they'll work in other brands. So just to give you an idea then about Musgrave Marketplace, which is the brand we're going to talk about. So this is where we are at the moment. So Musgrave is 150-year-old almost. It's 148 years, I think it is specifically, family business. So it is a traditional business. It's been around a long time. It's very large on the island of Ireland, and we're on a journey towards digital transformation, and we have done a lot, and we've come a long way. And like the examples I'll show you here we'll show some of that, but we've some way to go as well. But just as the idea of scale and what digital is for us, so we at the moment in our wholesale division are 65% digital. We're counting our EDI and kind of automatic integrations within that as well. When we move a customer to digital, and this is really where our experiments come in and the kind of metrics that we track at a customer level, we see an uplift in those customers of around 4%. So if we have somebody placing orders through the traditional channels and then we move them across to order through digital, we see on average an uplift of 4%. But that doesn't really tell the whole story, because similar as well to something Eric mentioned there beforehand, we'll see very different numbers for very different customers. Some of them will jump massively, some of them won't move at all, and it kind of levels out at 4%. So there's different expectations of different customers. And similar again, we would have some huge customers that, the example of a hospital and a dentist, all of those will order through our site. We'll have customers managing hundreds of stores, you know, and their whole brand through our site, and then we'll have much smaller single stores managed through it. We've delivered about 7 million incremental through personalization. Now, it's a difficult thing to track and to attribute exactly, but what we can see in the experiments that we've done and the uplift that we've seen, and I'll take you through some of the examples of what difference that kind of makes. So one of the things to call out, which is kind of the strategy that we've set out beforehand, it's kind of already been mentioned as well, is around our marketplace, what we call extended range. So we have a set of core products, but then we also have a marketplace, so a B2B marketplace powered by Miracle, which a lot of you will be aware of, running on Intershop. So what we're doing there is obviously marketplace model, shipping directly from suppliers to these customers. So we're at the early days of that, but we've around 7,000 products in that marketplace. And I suppose that is part of our drive towards these experiments and how we integrate that range into our product recommendations, and how we, it kind of stuck with me as well what the last presenter was saying about how we confirm things that we think we know and if they're right or wrong. So we have a couple of examples of things that we've attempted to do that we were very sure would work in a particular way, and just by experimenting and trying them, they've actually come out quite differently. So we are working with Algonomy as our recommendation engine, and this is the kind of example I'm going to jump into just to give you a bit of detail. We're doing experiments in other places, but I think this is a kind of a good one to share, which is just experiments around product recommendations. So through Algonomy, we are tracking some key data points. This isn't all of them, but it kind of gives you an idea. We're tracking items people have purchased, the quantity they purchased them in, the frequency and the dates, customer segments, which we've manually assigned and divided them up, but then also a customer segment based purely on behavior. So we're dividing customers up to say, you know, you're a hotel and this is a pub or whatever. But then we're also assigning customers to segments that are based purely on their behavior. And that's the AI element of this and where it comes into Algonomy. So we don't interact with those segments. They're kind of built based on rules set beforehand, and it groups the customers together on 150 different kind of variants of when they buy stuff, you know, down to the time of day or that kind of stuff. And I've had a look through the segments to kind of figure out, you know, what makes all these customers relatable to each other. And it's not always obvious, but you'll see kind of from the experiments that makes a difference. And then we have a number of placements across our site of where we can use these data points to trigger a product recommendation. So in anywhere we have content that we control, and then places like the search results on the basket, checkout, in a couple of different places. So what it looks like is kind of your straightforward or standard product carousel. So it doesn't look anything, you know, special or different, and it will pull in these headlines or headers are automatically generated as well. So it looks like kind of content controlled. It'll say things like customers like you have bought, or these are recently viewed items, or these are items related to your search, or hot sellers. There's a couple of other ones that we use as well, things like yeah, you know, customers like you have bought, I suppose, is the main or the easiest one to explain. So there's no kind of human intervention in these. The rules are set up, they run behind the scenes. And then what we're doing in from an experimentation or an experiment perspective is swapping these out and trying to test which variants work better. So the kind of the examples to show you, or what I can take you through, is when we created this tool and we were doing recommendations, we really wanted to get to be able to prompt customers with a replenishment journey, which is when we predict that you have run out of something, that we will say, and ideally the North Star eventually to get to a place where we just automatically send the products. But at the moment, what we're trying to do is say, you order toilet roll from us every 6 weeks. It's now been 5.5 weeks, and we predict that you will be looking for this. And that was kind of where we wanted to get to, and we wanted to be able to do that. So once we have the capability to do that, we then experimented with it. So we put that on the homepage in front of a subset of customers, but we A/B tested it essentially between two variations. So we showed we had a control group of customers, then we showed some customers a replenishment journey, which is, you've ordered this every 6 weeks, we think you're going to need it again. And then we showed another group of customers discovery products, which is products that are based on, people like you are buying this, or customers who buy other products that you buy are buying this, but you don't buy them. So completely new products. We were very confident that replenishment would be the big thing for our customers, that we work very closely with customers. A lot of them have contract pricing, they order frequently. We were very confident that if we were just making a choice, that's what we would do. The difference between the what was added to basket for those customers and like the lifetime value of the customers that we would track was less than 1%. It made practically no difference whether we showed them a replenishment journey or whether we showed them a discovery journey. So that was completely different to what we expected. We would have just gone out and shown them the replenishment one and assumed we were doing the right thing. And I kind of come back to that in a second because we've tweaked it slightly. What we've done with discovery as well then is we're showing customers new products that they don't buy based on the segment that they're in. And then we took another group of customers and showed them new products that they don't buy based on customers who just buy similar products to them. So not that they're both hotels or that they're both pubs, they just seem to buy products that overlap and we don't really understand why. And the difference between those two. So the discovery test we ran there, where we were recommending products based on the other products that people buy, there was a 7% difference as opposed to no difference essentially for the first one, if that makes sense. So again, we wouldn't have predicted that, and it made a big difference. And the last one then, and this is the final slide as well, the last one then was just to go back to replenishment and discovery. So the first one I kind of explained to you, we saw no difference. We were looking at it at a really high level, and we looked at all the customers in our test, and we looked at it at a top level to say we didn't make any more money basically from either of those things that we put forward. When we dug into it and kind of reran it in a slightly different way, what we realized was some of our, at a fully personalized level, there was a completely different reaction from particular customers. So some customers, it had absolutely no impact. But for other customers, and it was a kind of general split between our retail and our food service customers. So what we've discovered from this testing is that our retail customers react to replenishment and they want to reorder and order at a set time and then be told you're about to run out of this. Whereas our food service customers are very concerned with what other food service customers are ordering that they might not be. So what we're able to do now is then run both strategies concurrently, but to divide them then by content into which customers we show them. So replenishment is very successful for a certain percentage of our customers, and discovery is very successful for another segment of the customers. But our original test in that phase, if we just had looked at it at the overall level, it looked like it was very kind of static for everyone. So yeah, that's my last slide. It's just going to give you an example of some of the things we're using this for, and how AI is driving some of these things for us.
Okay, thank you very much, Manuel, for this insightful presentation. Before we start go any further, can you take a look at the poll in the chat and see if you agree with the outcome of this poll, where the question is, what is the biggest advantage of using AI in enhancing customer personalization? Actually, you elaborated on it. This is an AI-driven experiment you were talking about. Do you agree with what the audience sentiment is, that it is about improved customer experience, or is it about better targeting and segmentation, or is it in increased sales and conversion rates? Do you agree with this overwhelming 77% that says it's about improved customer experience?
Yeah, that's interesting, because I suppose the way I've spoken about it there, we're really tracking it from a sales perspective and conversion rates, and this has happened. There's kind of an assumption that we're always focused on the customer experience, and a better experience will drive better sales. But yeah, it's interesting. I think I would agree with it, but now that I talk about it, we're actually tracking this really from a sales perspective, and we haven't probably put a metric yet on, okay, if the customers are spending more, has it improved their overall experience? So we use NPS and all that kind of stuff as well, but at an individual customer level, it's an interesting one to track next and to figure out their reaction to it and how they feel.
Yeah, I guess, and I kind of understand the opinion of the crowd, or of the audience, that it is about the improved customer experience. The trick as well here is, how are you going to measure that? And that's why in the model I showed, it is about monitoring customer engagement, and monitoring that on an individual customer level is something quite different than a NPS measurement that is generic and not customer relatable.
Yeah, I mean, we're using NPS, but there are problems with it. Obviously, we would have customers of hugely different value, and they all feed into NPS the same. So one customer who spends 100 euros gives us a particular score. Another customer spending 100,000 euros, if the site is built for them, they're just two responses. So there's other things to be aware of.
Yeah. Okay. This was a very interesting and insightful presentation. Now, just one more question. How do you see that AI is accelerating your strategy? This extended assortment strategy. Is it? Are you able to make faster moves than you initially have foreseen, or is it driving the speed of your development, or do you not yet see that?
Yeah, I suppose it is. It's very difficult for us with things changing so quickly now. Our model would have always been to do a 3-year plan and to plan out, and it is more kind of to the way you described it, Ryan, earlier, about this North Star of where we want to go, and then the strategy of getting there is changing quite quickly, and it's much more fluid. And we would have had some assumptions about our extended range and how that would work, and the products people would want, and the recommendations here and getting those products in front of people is helping us to validate that a lot of that was wrong. We thought we would be extending the range to completely new categories in different places, but actually the products customers are reacting to are extensions of existing categories, more sizes, more pack size. They're the ones that are moving. So it's helping us to get to those answers quicker, which is then probably focusing what products we put into that extended range quicker than we would have done, I think.
Yeah, and I think the same conclusion here is that you have to experiment to find out and to validate your assumptions. So resonating what Eric stated earlier. Yep. Okay, thank you very much. The next speaker we have is Peter Klingenhammer, who is going to talk about, Spark AI and what Spark AI can do to empower businesses to use AI tools, but also what are the learnings there. Peter, I would like to hand over the control to you, so go ahead.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot, Arjen. First of all, hi, I'm Peter Klingenhammer. I do work for Spark, and today we will be discussing how you can drive e-commerce success through personalization. So at Spark, we understand that in today's competitive landscape, delivering a personalized shopping experience is not, well, it's not a nice to have, but it's basically essential to have. I lost my screen. So let's start with the big picture. At Spark, we understand that driving e-commerce with personalization is very essential. But why is that so important? Personalization leads to higher conversion rates and to help you increase customer lifetime value, and enhances customer retention by making each interaction more relevant and engaging. So to me, the question is not whether you need personalization, it's better how you can start implementing it effectively. So, but many companies do face basically the same challenges, and these are, to me, common concerns. I hear from them from many companies. So first of all, there is often a concern about data quality. Is our data good enough to use for personalization? And secondly, personalization can be seen complex. It feels massive undertaking. Where do we even start? It's hard to integrate and so on. And how do I define my strategy and so on? So
Did we lose Peter?
Peter, we can't hear you anymore and can't see you anymore. We see your slides and we see you click through, but we can't hear you.
is my audio back now?
Yeah, now your audio is back. Your video is not there yet.
I'm not able to enable my camera again, so
Okay,
it's
then
quite,
we do it without
weird.
your. We look at your slides and not at your beautiful face, Peter.
Okay. Well, maybe did I finish my first slide or not?
Yeah, you finished your first slide,
okay,
so
okay,
you
okay,
know
okay.
at the challenges and.
Indeed. So those challenges are quite common concerns, and I hear them from many companies. So first of all, is our data quality, is that good enough? Is it good enough to make personalization? And personalization can seem quite complex. It feels like massive undertaking. Where do we even start? It's really hard to integrate. How do I set up my strategies and so on? And finally, there's an uncertainty about, well, the return on investment. What value does it really add? But there is also good news. Those challenges are often more about perception than, I would say, really reality. So even with the data you have right now, you can start small, achieve some quick wins, and basically build up from there. The key is to recognize that you don't need to solve everything at once. You can make meaningful progress with what you already have. I think my camera button will show up again. I don't know how that happens, but it does basically. So what you can achieve today with your existing data, let's talk about some immediately opportunities only, for example, based on order data. So take a look at search. By tailoring search results for each user preference or behavior, you can significantly speed up the path to purchase, making it easier for customers to find exactly what they are looking for. So, for example, within Spark, we do have a supplier for wholesale for school supplies, and imagine that they are looking for paint. It does make sense to boost the search result based on their previously bought paint, because that's what they are probably looking for. Typically, B2B companies does have a repetitive user profile. They do want to search for the products which they bought before, and they don't want to have a search result page with just thousands of products and the desired product is basically on the position 50. So they have to really dive through all the results and see where the desired product is. Also, you can do very easily some automated recommendations. They can increase order value by, well, suggesting relevant products. Also based on previous purchases or maybe even browsing behavior, but that can give a huge advantage about shopping experience. For example, within Spark, we do have another customer. In this case, it's Skippers. And up there we calculate when he will order and what he will order, basically. And based on this information, we can send him a friendly reminder on the right moment, and pre-filling his shopping basket with just a product list, which is just a recommendation what we think they need right now, not yesterday, not even a week ago, but right now. So all these things making it very easy to order on your shop, and basically not on your competitor's shop. And of course, we can recommend other products as well based on purchase history. Think about cross-sell sliders and on the product detail page, or what has been bought together by the customer, or maybe within a specific segment of the customer, or even with the total users. So all these things can be done without deep integrations or any rich data models. It's basically just up front of you. So to wrap things up, you don't need perfect data or a complex strategy to start seeing results from personalization. By focusing on what you have and starting making small actionable steps, you can making, I think, a big difference right now. So your customers or organization, they will be more enthusiastic. It will grow basically. So it's really good to have in mind that each small step has a big impact basically. So yeah, I do encourage you to start small, but think big. Begin by leveraging the data you already have and create personalized experience to resonate with the customers. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter, and the insightful examples. There's no question and answers for this one, because we saved that for after the presentation of Gerard, which is also about the enabling technology. We do have polls in, there's one live in the chat right now, so everybody who wants to answer, please do, and I hope you all will, so that we get a kind of output we can use also in the discussion at the end. There will be another one during the presentation of Gerard. And Gerard, you're going to talk about, well, how can you enable all these experiments, and how can you create a data infrastructure that's going to support that, and share with us the vision of Intershop on how to enable these AI-driven developments from a architectural and data intelligence perspective. So please take control and start your presentation.
Okay, thank you very much, Arjen. Exactly. So yeah, diving into how to make your imagination reality, and how we can help you there from an Intershop perspective. I mean, there are many solutions out there in the market related to AI, and it's really booming, of course. And we also encourage you to use many of these solutions together, but I will explain it a little bit further in my presentation. I realized that I didn't properly introduce myself during the first intro. I'm responsible for sales and marketing within Intershop, but many of you probably already know me. So to imagine a bit, about a year ago, we created a mock-up for a demo for a customer portal. This is one screenshot out of that. And in that screenshot, you see, I have to see if the clicking also works. That doesn't work. Oh, yeah, there it was. Yeah, cool. So in this portal, you see different areas where AI can support. So, for example, in the search, of course, AI-supported search is. You can also use IoT to integrate your machines, and you can use AI to predict, for example, if a part needs to be replaced or a printer needs maintenance and things like that. And you can use AI to recommend products. And then on top of that, we have an AI assistant that can help you to create a conversation with your client, so that the client can use his natural language to ask questions and then get help. And then the assistant can even take real actions by adding stuff to the basket or things like that. So this part is done with what we call a co-pilot. So with the co-pilot, you can create multiple types of assistants. So basically what we're doing there is to combine these large language models. So to recognize natural language, so people can just use their own language to ask, for example, what do I need for this certain project or something like that. And then it can also take action, so it can help you really streamline your ordering process. For example, give me a notebook with the lowest carbon footprint and add it to the cart, for example. So these type of things you can do in your chat. And that will then eventually also improve your service to the customer, because you can also look into knowledge base content and things like that. And you can use it by typing, but of course we can also do voice recognition, and therefore if you're in the example, if you're in the kitchen, for example, and you have dirty hands and you need to order something, that you can talk to your Alexa or Google device or any other device, and then automatically add something to the basket. We have already customers who are doing that at the moment. So let's dive a little bit more into that. If you talk about AI, nowadays everybody knows ChatGPT, of course, but AI is much bigger than that. So that's why Gartner talks about composite AI. So here, if you see on the right, you see symbolic AI. So basically that heuristic models, for example, they use algorithms or rule-based intelligence. On the bottom, you see these knowledge graphs. There's also what we use in Spark. So that makes it very easy to combine different data sources. And so when we hear many times that customers lack data availability, with this type of technologies, it's quite easy to combine different sources of data, and then the AI algorithms will make sense out of it. And you can use already quite unstructured data, I have to say. And then top left, of course, the machine learning, that the machine starts to recognize patterns and things like that. In B2B, this is sometimes difficult because we don't have that much traffic on our websites and things like that. So to use this machine learning and continuous improvement together with your the knowledge of your business, so the combination of the machine and human knowledge, that usually creates very good results. And then on the left, of course, the agents, what I was just talking about. And so how to bring that together, and how to bring that to the customer. You've probably seen very often this picture already from Gartner to talk about the composable commerce architecture. In this picture, you see basically interchangeable components. So in the front end, you have a front end to the customer, for example, a single page application or a Procast web app. And that is connected through APIs to backend systems, your commerce system, maybe search engine content, but also more packaged business solutions, like, for example, an application to create quotes or proposals, or a product configurator and things like that. And so to be able to change these things, you can start much faster. And if a certain component doesn't really work, you can move over to another one that is best of breed. And so if you're able to create this composable environment, then you're much quicker in experimenting. And this is, of course, also something that we support from Intershop. So we have the headless front end, and then below that, the different modules that you can interact, like the customer engagement center, for example, or the order management system and the commerce management system. Here you see that in a picture. So the different components we have in a low-code integration layer to easily onboard the data. And then in the top, you see the, of course, the customer-facing applications. And there I also have the Copilot. And to go a little bit more deeper on that topic, Copilot basically is a technology to help you create assistants to the front end, to the customer, like a buying assistant or a service assistant or something like that, or assistant to your internal users, your business users, that help you create promotions or analyze data or create content, etc. And then, so we have this technology, this Copilot service technology that then connects to different services behind it. And there, I really encourage you use different tools. So you don't have to invent the wheel for everything yourself. There are probably already specific AI tools for your industry, or you can use specific tools to help you understand the data behind. You have your own data, your own knowledge base, your own product documentation or product sheets and things like that. You can upload that and then already extract the intelligence out of those documents. And we also have our business data hub, which is becoming more and more like a central database with all the data coming from your commerce platform, but also other systems and your analytics systems. And on the right, Spark AI. So if you have combined with OpenAI this natural language recognition, and the customer asks for a certain product, then you can use the Spark API to get this from your structured product database and recommend the right product. And so diving a little bit more into this architecture, so Spark is connected to all your data sources. It extracts the data in a knowledge graph where you can easily create connections, relationships in the data, and so that's the human readable part. From there, you can create the algorithms, so the strategies basically, and then serve them in the API that you can use in many different channels, of course, on your website, but also recommend the best product in email, etc. When you're retargeting, AI is really powerful in reordering scenarios. That's why also in the B2B we see so much opportunities for that. Then the data hub, from Intershop perspective, we deliver this to deliver the data that the platform generates in a consumable format. We also put some Power BI reports on top of it. But of course, you can also use it to fuel your bigger data warehouse. If you use SAP or Salesforce or Snowflake or something like that, it can also fuel that. And then you can use that data, of course, and really learn from the data and let the AI learn from the data and use that to optimize your customer experience. And then when we bring all that data together, we bring that into dashboards, and also there we add the Copilot interaction. So here, your backend users, your marketeer or your merchandiser, they also start to communicate with the system and can ask meaningful questions to the system and get recommendations how to further improve your business. And therefore, also be much more productive. On the right, you see a couple of use cases that we're working on and also experimenting with other customers. And of course, we are always open to come up with new ideas. I mean, we're just at the beginning of this journey, and we imagine as well that there are far more possibilities than we know today, and every day we learn, and we really would like to do that together with you.
Okay, thank you, Gerrit. Now we're going to invite also Niels Kijkuit, who's from VML, the agency that's supporting Bunzl in its online endeavors. And we're going to have some discussion about what was presented today. And maybe if we start off with, if you could look at the poll and in the chat, and I would like to have your opinion, Niels, on what do you see at your customers, looking broader, just also outside of bundle. What do you see as the most significant barrier they see to start with AI products? Do you agree with what is shown here, that it is the lack of availability of data, or do you see other things that are holding back B2B companies to start applying AI?
It's a number of things. Not all B2B organizations are as digital mature as another one, like for example Bunzl. So it's the lack of knowing how to do it. It's the fear of trying something new. Of course, there's a lot of funny stories around AI. Some of them are true, some of them are just BS. But also we see accidents happen where companies share their proprietary data with language models like ChatGPT, and basically others are using their IP. So it's I think the fear, knowing how, it's blocking organizations, but also just, I mean, a lot of companies, specifically in B2B, but also in B2C, are very early in the maturity stage and have maybe other things on their mind first before they're diving into this whole AI subject.
Okay. Do you come across many companies that have a clear long-term vision on where these developments are going? Because you could also argue that not having everything in place at this moment in time would help you, or the technology will help you to make fast progress, because you can use what is now available, and that's often less complex than to implement than it was in previous days.
There are companies, of course, that have a solid AI roadmap, but there are also companies that are basically like buying off-the-shelf solutions where AI under the hood plays a role, like with Intershop Spark technology, but also personalization and recommendation tools like Dynamic Yield, Algolia, etc., that use sorts of AI under the hood. But it's like in a pre-packed form, which for a lot of companies, specifically with the lower maturity levels, is much more comfortable to work with. And recommendation and search is always the obvious, but we see more and more applications in content generation. So completing product content, for example, or translating static content in CMS pages, where we see the help of AI coming up without basically being aware that AI is helping us. And I think that is how it should be, right? We shouldn't be talking about AI. We should be talking about how we can do things faster, smarter, cheaper.
Do you, Niall, do you agree with that? Shouldn't we be talking about AI? You're on mute, by the way, Niall.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to it, as in you just mentioned there how we do things faster and cheaper and efficiencies and all that kind of stuff. AI is obviously a buzz at the moment, but it's the same problem we're trying to solve. How can we sell more with a higher margin and cost us less? And it's the same problem as it has always been. And I think we'll still be talking about the same thing, and it's AI at this stage, and it'll be whatever the next evolution of that is next, but it's the same base problem.
Okay. Do you, if you look at from an infrastructure perspective, Gerard, do you see that AI is causing a bigger change, or do you agree with that it's just improving, efficiency and sales?
Yeah. Well, for us, from an infrastructure perspective, it probably hasn't impacted massively yet. But if we look at things like how we manage products and taxonomy and trading and all those things, it will definitely offer efficiencies there. And how long it takes to change the infrastructure, I'm not sure. But even like we would have a big pricing team that control individual customer pricing, and that's almost an industry. That can be simplified very quickly, and is what will come next, I assume. But what impact it'll have then on the systems and infrastructure behind it will be interesting to see. It'll obviously simplify that as well, hopefully, in the future.
Yeah, and Gerard, if you answer this question, the same question, if you look at it from your Intershop perspective, is it just for optimization and efficiency, or do you see different advantages there?
So I think, first of all, if you ask customers if they use or want to use AI, many of them say, no, we're not doing it yet. And then if you look, they are actually using quite a lot already in their organization. So that's, but also, so I think that people maybe expect a little bit too much from it, and should just start using the benefits of it. So if we see it in the Intershop world, it's not going as fast as I expected. So people are a little bit reluctant, I have to say, at the moment. Or we seeing the different thing, but people are much more busy with the setting up the basics still than really creating this very highly personalized experience. So we are with many customers still in the conceptual, the experimental phase. Of course, we have a lot of customers who are using our tools already, like Spark already. So they, but it's not specifically that they want to leverage AI. I mean, they just want to have better search results. They just want to have better recommendations. So maybe that's also what Niels already said. We should not talk about AI that much, but much more about the results that we can get out of it.
Okay, about how you get to intelligent customer interaction or advanced B2B. Advancing your, yet at the same time, Eric, predicting what customers are going to buy is, well, quite a thing, isn't it? It is, different than it used to be.
Yeah, indeed, it's already quite a thing, but it's not where you start. I agree with what has been said. It's not about the technology; it's about what problems can you solve, and what information that you not have that now suddenly you can find. And for instance, we are not immediately predicting what a customer would need, but we start. We've got a customer, for instance, with thousands of petrol stations, and they need coffee cups, and they need paper, etc. They don't never want to run out. We know what they are buying. We know what they've bought in the past. We know what's still on order. We know what we have on stock for them, bespoke. We know what is coming in from China or whatever. And then with all that information, you can simulate, you can predict where they might have a stock out. And just by pointing that out, make that actionable and avoid the stock outs, that's already a big step forward. And then together with the customer, you'll start to talk like, hey, if you can do this, could you also do this for me? Yep, we probably might. And can you do this? And that's how you evolve. So you don't come with something spectacular new. You look at a pain point, you solve it, and then you take it from there.
Yeah, great. We're running out of time, so I'm going to wrap up. The interesting bit is, and that's our promise with all these sessions, is that it is about demystifying AI. It is about improving your business, improving your customer experience, and on the other hand, becoming quite something different or a much more valuable partner for your customers, like the example Eric gave right away, or just before. We are going to, we are going to look forward to the next session. The next session will be on November 5th. And that is about design thinking and customer centricity. How do you transform your organization into this data-driven and fast learning and accelerating organizations? How do you do that transformation process? I hope you enjoyed this session, and after this session, next week or something, you will receive the first 2 action papers. Please let us know what you think of them and how you like them or not, or what we can improve. Please feel free to share any comment with us. And well, I want to thank all the guest speakers for your valuable presentations and your insights. And I want to thank the audience for their presence. And with that, we end this session. Thank you very much.